following program is a production of Ho'ike Kauaʻi Community Media.
Aloha everyone, it's Olivia here with another Kauaʻi County Council update right here outside of the chambers. And I was joined by council members Bulosan and council member DeCosta for another fun, informative way to find out what happened at the Kauaʻi County Council meeting for this week. They're a lot better explaining what was going on than me, so I will pass it over to them. And until then, stay tuned to Ho'ike.
Today and every day, so take it away with your resolution on Chair Raposo.
Yeah, so to start the day off, we had an awesome resolution introduced by Chair Raposo. The resolution is talking about Anini Beach and beach access and making sure that our county department, in conjunction with our counterparts at the state legislation and our state department, make sure that we do the right surveys in the areas so that we know where beach access should be for our public. And more importantly, that certain landowners and peoples who own land in these areas are doing the right thing, which means making sure that there's beach access. If you want to share a little bit more about that, Councilmember DeCosta.
Actually, we had a piggyback resolution for planning department to evaluate and pursue public access. So again, Anini Beach is just one of many public accesses that we are trying to go after, and multi-accesses. There's a whole bunch of accesses on the North Shore and on the West that we want to open up for our public. So letting you guys know that we sent a strong resolution and encouraging planning to look back in all of the deeds that we have and all the ordinances that were in the subdivision or CPRs and find out, okay, was this a deeded equestrian or bike path or walkway? And let's go get it back for our people. Yeah. We should be working for our people. And I'm glad this council is trying to open up access.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So both resolutions passed with full 7 votes. And again, thank you, Councilmember DeCosta and Council Chair for leading the way on these issues.
Yeah. No, thank you. We couldn't do it without all of you guys' votes, So thank you. Why don't you talk about the green light resolution?
Yeah. So another resolution that was introduced by Councilmember Carvalho, and it's just to acknowledge all our veterans on Kauai. It's one of those things where the event is actually coming up. 2 important events. One that's happening next week, Saturday, a celebration for our Kauai veterans. And then the following day, we have a Veterans Day celebration all the way in Hanapepe. And so, resolutions are important statements. It's statements that we put out as a full council on things that we believe that the community finds important and that we want to keep moving forward and find solutions. So this is one of the parts of the legislative branch that we can exercise to make sure that we represent you, the community.
Thank you for that, Addison. You always speak so sharply. Good job. Almost as sharp as I look.
Almost.
Anyway, talking about our grant for KEMA and Public Works. I'm the chair of Public Works, and my vice chair is sitting right next to me. No, I'm sorry. Vice chair is actually Councilmember Cowden. I'm your vice chair on Parks and Rec. Yes. There we go. But anyway, on to KEMA, and our Public Works division did a good job on securing a Department of Homeland Security grant. $780,000. These grants are very hard to come by, especially with all the natural disasters across North Carolina and Florida. And just congratulations to our Public Works and their way of capturing this grant money that is actually free money from the federal government. So a big shout out to them. Why don't you talk about our performance audit that's coming up, Addison? You were very vocal on that today.
Yeah, so another issue that was brought up by Council Chair, so thank you, Council Chair, for putting this on the agenda. And basically, it's looking to do a performance audit on 5 issues. 2 of them was proposed by Chair Raposo, and 3 was proposed by the administration. So these performance audits are to look at performance. And so basically, this designed so that we can look at how things are functioning and get a report on. And that report will be given to the council. And so the 2 items that Chair Raposo shared, one is looking at ag dedication, the process and enforcement. The second was the solid waste operation issues between equipment issues and staffing. And then administration asked to performance audit these 3 issues. First is the residential building permit process, funding the Agency of Elderly Affairs, and hiring practices and employee retention. So we had great discussion on it. It was very important to our constituents and important here for the council members. And essentially, it's our way to just check in and see what's going on under the hood and see how we can help.
Yeah. And why don't you mention a little bit about the solid waste closure of the land sites that we have going on for repairs and renovation, and just touch a little bit. Then I'll touch on the ag dedication.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So right now, I mean, there's a little bit of a challenge for our community. We have the Lihue transfer station is closed until November. And then Kauaʻi transfer station will begin to close in November. So Lihue will reopen in November, and then Kauaʻi will be closing in November. And all of this was to make sure that both our transfer stations are up to code, making sure that it's run properly and keeping the environment safe. And so part of that information we learned a little bit today by presentation by our Addison Fraley, who is our not department head, but our
solid waste department.
Part of the solid waste department, who shared the things that they're doing to make sure that we're following all the federal regulations at both locations.
She does a good job.
She's amazing, yeah. And so we're doing the work to make sure that both transfer station is up to code, and it's doing everything possible to protect the environment, and should be getting back online as soon as possible. So just be patient with our team. They've been working hard on this to make sure that you're all safe.
All I want to touch up, very well said, Addison. It's hard to follow your act. But anyway, back to the ag dedication, that's kind of my specialty. When I first got elected in 2020, Councilmember Luke Evans and myself overhauled our ag dedication. And then right now, currently, we have a new finance director. We have a new real property tax director. We have a new property assessor. So they're kind of green, but they're very competent and very eager to dive in. So we are going to help them with the ag audit as far as what way we want to go, and we find out from the audit what's happening. But I was kind of on the fence about the audit. I do believe it's a good thing by our council chair for introducing it, holding large landowners and small landowners accountable. But at the same time, it's like a catch-22, right? So when we did our overhaul of the ag dedication, we said that there should be a number of cattle per acre. So if you're talking a very lush green area with a lot of rain precipitation, maybe you can have one cow per 2 or 3 acres. If you're talking kind of dry land, more dry, less rain, maybe one cow to 4 or 5 acres. Well, on all of my visits to the NACO, like out in Utah, and I remember you was with me, like we visited some ranches, and some of those ranches, they have one cow per 100 acres or one cow per 500 acres because they have almost no grass. They have what they call saltbrush and sagebrush and willow weed, and they're more of a grazing brush. So when we talk about ag, and I look at the Robinson plantation, they have their cattle up in the mountains, and they should. It's like our BML land, Bureau of Land Management in the mainland. The cattle grazes way up in the mountains. So it's not a normal practice for anybody else's ranch that's on paddocks that have rotating green grass, which the grass should all have different heights, right? Because if you have 20 cattle in paddock A, and then you move them to paddock B, that grass in paddock B should be much taller than paddock A. It should not look like a mowed golf course. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of large landowners, especially on the north, who have mowed grass pastures. So we wanted to make sure that, the Robinson family, we're going to look into that. And Chair did a good job about saying, hey, we are not going to penalize people that are doing a different type of ranching because it's in the mountains and they have a very low cattle ratio to how many acres they have. So I was glad to bring it up on the table. We don't want any more billionaires buying up land because our current landowners cannot pay the extreme land taxes, right? And then we talked about our comprehensive zoning guest cottage. Why don't you open it up, and then I'll close it there.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, hats off and mahalo to Council Chair Raposo and Councilmember DeCosta for introducing Bill 2933. We were in second reading and it passed full unanimous support, 7-0. And again, it's the guest house bill that I think is one big piece, a part of the housing solutions that we are needing to present to our community that need desperately. And so I shared from my perspective how important it is that it's addressing one of the 3 challenges in our housing challenges, which is access to housing. And so hats off to Council Chair Raposo and Councilmember DeCosta. I know you tried in an earlier term to try to get this passed.
With Councilmember
Cavallo, and I'm glad that you brought it back because we got to do everything possible to build more housing for our local workforce community, and so it's really essential for us to pass this bill through.
Well, and there was a lot of good talk on the floor, right? A lot of talk was like, okay, 2014, this was somewhat of an exact bill like this was introduced by Councilman Kagawa and Councilmember Raposo. It didn't get any traction. Well, the traction it didn't get, and we found out today, was because the amendment that I introduced, which would not allow this to be exploited in the residential area. Because Councilmember Luke Evslin and I believe Councilmember Mason Chuck at the time introduced the ARU and the guest house on residential areas. So they're already maxed out their density right now. And with the concrete ordinance, that's so much land got to be covered by concrete and open grass that it's already governed. So we didn't want to see a sprawl in the urban areas of too much houses on top of houses. So I did an amendment. You guys all voted for it. We removed that. So we'll keep urban, no more density. You have to choose between a guest house or an ARU, additional rental unit. But when you go to ag, it's going to double the density in ag. And how cool it is for these local families whose parents said subdivide a 5-acre lot into 3 acre and 0.75 lots and one house on that acre and 3/4. And now they can add a guest house.
Yeah.
This is huge. This is huge housing insertment. According to planning director, they said anywhere from 300 to 500 new homes when this bill gets signed into law. And thank you, new managing director Reiko Matsuyama, chief of staff Sarah Blaine, and Mayor Derek Kaukami, because that Council Chair Mel and I have been meeting with them over and over with planning, and it was a collaborative meeting and talking behind the scene and coming up with, okay, is this aligned with the general plan? Can we go in front of Planning Commission? Will this support? And I believe Planning Commission, thank you for their support, saw that right now it's a housing crisis. We got to do everything we can. And you know this, Addison. You're in the housing crisis. You're the guy with the little son wanting to buy a house. How cool would it be now if you and your friend or your buddy or your wife want to hooey up and go get that 1/2-acre lot, which now allows you two dwellings. So now you can live in one and have the other one as a rental. And you cannot sell it, you cannot subdivide it or CPR it, but you have an ability to build a second home which can be rented to local families. So you'll help the rental market, you'll have income to support for your family, and now you can have the baby girl, and you have 2 houses on your lot. So boom to Kauai for that bill. Very proud today of that bill. Very proud of the council. I almost thought it was going to get deferred. There was a little bit of chatter on the floor about, is this going to ruin Kauai? Are we going to keep ag? And I made that example, right? About the fruit trees and putting a house on, or cattle and putting a house. So I think it's a good thing. And we got the votes, and very, very exciting. And last but not least, you want to talk a little bit about the shoreline setback and about what we spoke on.
Yeah, actually, we did talk about that in the beginning, so we're good to go.
Okay.
They can cut that one.
Yeah, before we talk anymore, I remember I made a comment about the boundaries of state land and shoreline access, that we should not be taking away the Kanaka land that sits on the ocean and I mean, trying to trade off a piece of property inland. So if that Kanaka wants to take a chance with their land that was passed down to generations, then we don't have the ability to take that right. They want to live by the beach.
Exactly.
In their house, right? That's their land. Yeah. They do what they like with their land. But anyway, this is Councilman Billy DeCosta, Councilmember Addison Bulosan, coming live on Channel 53, Ho'ike. And I want to say it's been a pleasure working with you. We just had another drowning, I believe, or was it a rescue? And again, I got to talk about that rescue bill that you and I did. Like, leaps and bounds. This was something that people have been trying to talk about for decades, and no one could push it through. And I'm glad that you and I did the rescue bill, and we got the votes, and we're holding tourists accountable. The tourism industry might not like it, but I know that tourists should pay for their rescue.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, exactly. And so I appreciate Councilmember DeCosta for actually allowing me to be part of his idea. It's actually his great idea. And we did the necessary work to make sure that we are doing what is needed to protect our community, protect visitors, but at the same time, make sure that we're doing the right thing and hold people accountable to the things that they do. So fantastic bill. That was actually the first bill that I got to do. So I appreciate Councilmember DeCosta. And we look forward to you guys joining us at the next council meeting.
Thank you, Ike. Shaka.
Yes.
Thank you to Councilmember Bulosan and DeCosta for joining me on this weekly update. I hope you learned a lot. And I hope you'll stay tuned to Ho'ike Community Media in order to get your latest Kauaʻi County Council news.
Ho'ike Kauaʻi Community Media's president and CEO is Allegra Gaines. Administrative assistant, Leiko Someda. Production and education services by Roger Olson. Production and IT services by Max Richardson. News and events producer, Trisha Allen. County producer and social media manager, Olivia Franco. Ho'ike's board of directors include Chair Adam Reversi, Vice Chair Lexi Jones, Secretary Nathaniel Evslin, and Treasurer Jackie Kina. Additional directors include Leah Awohi, Lori Barrett, Rod Green, Teak Rubiano, and Taylor Young.